Deep in the wilds of Cumbria, in a tiny village called Croglin, you'll find the site of what might just be Britain's most famous and maybe its most terrifying vampire legend. It's a classic tale, really. You've got a creature from the grave, a terrifying midnight attack, and a really gruesome discovery. All right, let's dive into this dark piece of English folklore. I want you to just imagine this for a second. You're in a secluded farmhouse. It's one of those ridiculously hot summer nights where you just can't sleep. So you're watching the moon from your bed. And then you see something moving out in the churchyard. It's a dark shape, and it has two flickering lights where its eyes should be. And it's coming right for your window. You know that chilling description? That comes directly from the very first published account of this legend. It was written by a guy named Augustus Hare, and he just perfectly captured the pure terror of that moment when the young woman in our story, Amelia Cranswell, comes face to face with this thing at her window. So our story really kicks off when the Cranswell siblings, that's two brothers and their sister, Amelia, decide to rent this single-story farmhouse called Croglin Grange for the summer. They were just looking for some peace and quiet. But, as you can probably guess, what they found was anything but. It all begins on one of those stiflingly hot summer nights. The air is heavy, you can barely breathe, and Amelia, who can't sleep, is just watching the moonlight from her window, which she's left unshuttered. And that is when she spots them. Two little flickering lights way out in the churchyard. At first, she's probably just curious, you know? But that curiosity turns to absolute dread when she realizes those lights are eyes, set in a dark figure that's walking very steadily right towards her. She's completely frozen with fear, just watching this figure get closer and closer. She tries to run for the door, but a sound stops her dead in her tracks. A methodical, relentless scratching sound right at her bedroom window. The creature is trying to get in. The thing that's so chilling here is how persistent and unnatural the attack is. The scratching stops. It's replaced by this weird pecking sound as the creature methodically unpicks the window's lead frame. Then a pane of glass just falls inward. A long bony finger snakes through the opening and the latch is turned.
And just like that, the creature is inside. It crosses the room in an instant, twists its fingers in Amelia's hair, yanks her head back, and bites her neck. It's the pain that finally unlocks her voice, and she lets out this piercing scream. Her brothers hear it. They break down her locked door, but it's just in time to see the creature fleeing back out the window and disappearing over the churchyard wall.
So Amelia actually survives, and the family, understandably, gets out of there. They go all the way to Switzerland to recover. But here's the strange twist. After a while, she insists they go back. So they return to Croglin Grange, but this time they are ready. They have loaded pistols. And after a nice, peaceful winter, the very next March, the scratching returns. Amelia wakes up to that all too familiar sound. But this time, her scream isn't just from terror. It's a signal. As the creature makes a run for it across the lawn, one of her brothers takes aim and fires, hitting it right in the leg. The creature stumbles, but it still manages to scramble over that churchyard wall. But this time is different. This time, it's wounded. In the morning light, the brothers get a group of villagers together and they follow the trail. It leads them straight to an old, run-down family vault in the churchyard. The beast has gone to ground. What they find inside that vault is the horrifying proof they were looking for. Coffins are smashed open, just completely desecrated, all except for one. Its lid is just slightly loose. As they lift it, they find a shriveled corpse inside. And there it is, a fresh, undeniable bullet wound in its leg. Their next move is obvious. They burn it. I mean, it is an incredible, terrifying story. A perfect campfire tale. But for over 100 years now, investigators have been asking one simple question. Did any of it actually happen? Because when you start hunting for the truth, the story really begins to fall apart. So, this entire legend, everything we know, it all comes from one single source. Augustus Hare's autobiography, which was published way later in 1900. He says he was told the story over dinner back in 1874 by a Captain Fisher. So right from the get-go, it's a second-hand account published 26 years after he even heard it. That's a bit of a red flag. The story's history is, well, it's pretty strange. Hare's version is set in the 1870s. But some people who've looked into it think if anything real happened, it would have been way back in the 17th century. And from the moment it was published, the debate was on, with some investigators poking holes in the story, while others found little details that seemed to back it up. So what did these investigators find? Well, when you actually start to compare the legend to the facts on the ground in Cumbria, some really serious problems start to pop up. So let's put the legend side by side with reality. The story claims there's a house called Croglin Grange. Investigators found no record of a house with that name from that time. The churchyard right next to the house? The actual church is over a mile away. And the most important part, that family vault, the centerpiece of the big climax, nobody has ever found it. But honestly, here's the most damning piece of evidence against the whole thing. For an event this crazy, a vampire hunt, a public burning with witnesses, there is absolute total silence. One paranormal researcher surveyed all the known books on local folklore published between when her heard the story and when he published it, and found not a single mention of it. It's like the most famous legend in the county just didn't exist until Augustus Haar wrote it down. And then there's this. This might be the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. Back in 1847, more than 50 years before Hare's book came out, there was this hugely popular serialized novel called Varney the Vampire. And guess how Varney gets to his victim? He breaks into her bedroom by removing a pane of glass from her window. The similarity is, well, it's just too striking to be a coincidence. It really suggests that this true family story might have borrowed some key details from popular fiction. So the facts don't really add up, and it looks suspiciously like a story we've heard before. And yet, here we are, more than 120 years later, still talking about the Croglin Vampire. So why? Why does this story have such incredible staying power? In the legend, they burned the creature's body to destroy it for good. But you can't burn a good story, can you? A tale this vivid, this genuinely frightening, is just built to be told and retold, whether it's around a campfire or, well, in an explainer like this one. Its truth almost becomes less important than the thrill it gives you. So where does all this leave us? Was the Croglin Vampire just a literary hoax that Hare cooked up inspired by the fiction of his day? Was it maybe an exaggerated version of a real but totally non-supernatural assault? Or could it be a genuine piece of local folklore that he just captured and sensationalized? The truth, it seems, is still buried. Ultimately, the Croglin Vampire is so much more than just a ghost story. It's a legend that makes us question that fuzzy line between fact and folklore, between history and horror. And maybe, just maybe, our fascination with it says less about the undead and more about our own need for mysteries that don't have an easy explanation.